Okay. I think it's going, guys. I'm going to take a drink, and then we're going to start. Good morning, my friends, on this rainy Wednesday morning, and happy National Library Week. This is like Christmas if you're a librarian, because we have been celebrating libraries all week, and we obviously love libraries, because we are a library. So find a comfy seat, grab your stuffies. I have our Storytime bunny here with us, and let's read some really great stories about libraries. My first one is actually from a show. I know this is still on, but I don't know if you guys watch it. It's called DW's Library Card. It's DW from Arthur. Let's read. This is by Marc Brown. All right. On Saturday, Arthur and DW went to the library. "Will you check out this book for me?" asked DW. "I can't check out baby books," Arthur said. "It will go on my record." "When I have my own library card," said DW, "I'll check out whatever I want." Oh, goodness. Do you guys have to share with your siblings your library card? "When can I get a library card?" DW asked Mrs. Turner. "As soon as you can write your full name," Miss Turner said. "But I hardly ever say my full name," said DW. "How can I write it?" "I can write my full name," bragged Tommy Tibble. "Me too," said Timmy Tibble. Oh gosh, do you see the Tibble twins? They're such special boys. At home, DW practiced writing her full name. Arthur came in to see how she was doing. "Doba Minifred Reedbed. Who's that?" he said. Is Arthur being a supportive big brother? Doesn't really feel like her. At dinner, DW asked Mother and Father, "Why did you name me something easy like A?" Boys and girls, can you imagine if your name was just a letter? I would want to be M, because it looks like mountains. It's fun to draw. Mother looked at DW's plate. "Well, you're almost there." DW's playing in her mashed potatoes. We don't play in our food. I won't tell. DW gasped, "Quick, more mashed potatoes." After Father gave her a scoop, DW wrote, "Read." "I wrote my name! I wrote my name!" DW shouted. Her name is Dora Winifred Reed, by the way. I never knew DW's name. Dora Winifred. On Saturday, DW was ready to get her library card. "Very nice, Dora Winifred Reed," said Miss Turner. "Here's your card." "Hooray!" said DW. "Now I can check out all the books I want." She went to find the frog book. But it wasn't there. "That book's been checked out," said Mrs. Turner. "It should be back in a week." "A whole week?" said DW. "Well, it might be back before then," Miss Turner said. Oh gosh. Do you think she's going to get the book? We shall see. All week, DW checked to see if the book had been returned. "Nope, it's not back yet," said Miss Turner. "Sorry, DW, not yet," said Mom. "Not yet, DW," said Miss Turner. The next Saturday, DW was the first one in the library, but the frog book still wasn't there. She waited and waited. You see DW on the couch, just looking all sad. I'd be sad too, you know. But that's why we have books that we put on reserve for you guys. So you don't have to be sad and wait. "Hi, DW," said a voice. It was Tommy Tibble and his brother Timmy. And they were holding the frog book. "You had it," said DW, "and you heard it. It's all wrinkly." "It was like that when we checked it out," Miss Turner said. "It's an old book." "We would never hurt a library book," said Timmy. "If you do," Tommy whispered, "they take away your library card forever." That's not true for us, but for this library, I don't know. See the frog book? We're gonna read a frog book later. Turner checked out the book on DW's card. "Here you go," she said, handing it to DW. "Take good care of it, or else," whispered Timmy. The book looked so old. DW imagined what would happen if she ruined it. She would never be able to check out books again. Oh my gosh, look at DW. Does she look happy or worried? She looks pretty worried. At home, DW put the book in a safe place. Every day, she checked to make sure the book was all right. It's in a pizza box in the pantry. Looks like the pantry. Oh, it's the cupboard under the stairs. On Saturday, DW carefully brought the book downstairs. "Time to return this," she said. "Finally." "Why are you wearing oven mitts?" asked Arthur. "To keep it safe," said DW. Oh goodness, look at DW. She's really taking good care of that book, don't you think? "It won't explode," said Arthur. "Did you like it?" "I didn't open it," said DW. "The symbol said that the library would take my card away if I hurt the book. It's old. It could fall apart at any minute." "Well," said Arthur, "if you're so worried, I'll open it." "Hey, my name's in here. I checked this book out too." "You checked out a baby book?" said DW. "It's not a baby book. It's a great book for little kids." Arthur began to read. Oh my goodness. Arthur is such a special big brother. When Arthur finished reading, DW sniffed sadly. "It was a happy story," said Arthur. "Why don't you like it?" "I loved it," said DW. "I'm sad that I have to return it." "But you can check it out again," said Arthur. "I can?" said DW. "Yeah, it's called renewing," explained Arthur. Aw, Arthur's a good big brother. He's reading her the book. "Hooray!" DW said. "Then you can read it to me every day, twice a day, once in the morning and once at night. Then I can read it again and again and again." The end. Isn't that a fun story? I love Arthur. Well, just like DW read to Arthur, we are going to practice our reading skills. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold up one of these cards and we're going to read it together. We'll sound it out and read it. And then I'm going to hold up 2 sheets of paper with illustrations on them. Don't look at my nails, please. I didn't repaint them last time. And we're going to decide which one of the characters is doing the word that we see. You think we can do that together? I bet we can. All right, well, the first one we have, let's read it together. It says, drink. Drink, right? D-R-I-N-K. Good job. All right, so we got our, we're gonna start up here actually. We've got drink. So do you think this girl is drinking or this person? It's this one, right? She's got a cool curly straw. Good job. All right. Now we've got, what's this word? C-R-Y. Cry. Cry. We know that one. Good job reading. All right, is this person crying? Or is this person crying? It's this one, right? Good job. Ooh, she looks like she hurt herself. I hope she's okay. All right, my friends, we've got another one. Here's one I bet we can say together. It is read. R-E-A-D. Read. You like that word at the library? Is this reading or is this person reading? This person person's reading, aren't they? Good job. We'll put him up here, or her. We're not going to assume their gender. Okay. Ooh, here's one that's my favorite thing to do. S-I-N-G. Sing. Sing. Good reading, boys and girls. Well, that was harder than it should have been. Is this singing? Or is this singing? This one's singing, right? I almost put down the wrong one, boys and girls. This one's singing, right? Good job. We have a couple more that we're going to do. Let's see. Ooh, let's do this one. P-L-A-Y. Play. Play. Don't you guys love to play? Me too. I like to play outside with my dog. Is this playing? Or is this playing? Oh, I squished the paper. It's this one, right? That person's playing with blocks. Good job, boys and girls. Okay, we've got one more. Let's sound it out. Sleep. The two E's together makes the E sound. Let's spell it. S-L-E-E-P. Sleep. It's very important that you sleep, boys and girls. That's how you grow. Is this sleeping? Or is this sleeping? It's this one, right? Good job. We matched up all of our words. You guys can read. Good job. Let's read another story together. This one we're going to read is Froggy Goes to the Library. Maybe that's the book that DW wanted to check out. The frog book, you know? I'm going to put the Storytime bunny up here so they can be nice and comfy. And I'm going to get a drink. All right, boys and girls. Froggy Goes to the Library by Jonathan London. I love the illustrations in this book. They're very pretty. Very bright. It was Saturday morning, and Froggy stayed in bed to read his favorite book. It was about Super Frog. See Froggy in bed? All these books with kids going to the library on Saturdays. Hopefully we can be open on Saturdays again soon. Froggy, called his mom. What? Said Froggy. It's time to get up, dear. We're going to the library. Yippee! Cried Froggy, and he hopped out of bed and he flopped into the kitchen. Flop, flop, flop. Let's go, said Froggy, and he started flopping out the door. Flop, flop, flop. First, said Mom, you have to get dressed. I know that, said Froggy. He was just going to go to the library in his jammies. You see his jammies have little flies on them. Because he's a frog and frogs eat flies. That's so funny. So he flopped back to his room and he got dressed. Zip, zoop, zop, zoop, zoop, zoop. Oh, he's fully dressed now. Then he flopped back to the kitchen. Flop, flop, flop. And said, let's go! I want to get books about Super Frog and T-Rexes. First, said Mommy, eat your breakfast, dear. Yum, said Froggy. Home flies and ketchup. Munch, crunch, munch. Flies. Ew. But he's a frog, so that makes sense that he's eating flies. Then Froggy raced out the door. Froggy, called Mommy. What? Called Frog. Don't forget your book bag, dear, so you can carry home lots of books. I'd better take the wheelbarrow, said Froggy. I'm getting a ton of books. And off to the library they went. Squeak, squeak, squeak. You see Sister riding in the wheelbarrow? That's so silly. In no time at all, Froggy had a stack of books so high that he couldn't see over the top of them. And he tripped over Polly, oops, and fell smack on his face, splat, and spilled all of his books. Oh gosh, I hope he's okay. And that's when he saw Froggelina. Hi, Froggy, she said. Want some help picking out your books? I can do it myself, shouted Froggy. Please use your indoor voice, dear, said the librarian, Mrs. Otterbottom. Oh gosh. First, Froggy read a book about Super Frog. He wasn't very good at reading, but he was very good at looking at the pictures. We're good at reading. We just read all those words, aren't we? We're good at reading. I lost my place, guys. He was very good at looking at pictures. Went the pages. When he got to the part about Super Frog flying high and fast over the bad guys, he stood on top of the table and spread his arms like wings. Can you spread your arms like wings? Please sit down, dear, said Mrs. Otterbottom. It's not polite to stand on the table. Oops, said Froggy. Can't stand on tables and chairs, we might hurt ourselves. Then he picked out lots of books about dinosaurs, especially his favorite ones, T-Rex. Roar! Cried Froggy, holding his hands up like claws. Could you do your claws, boys and girls? Froggy! Called Mrs. Otterbottom. What? Cried Froggy. This is a library, dear, not a dinosaur park. Oh, said Froggy. Sorry. Then Mrs. Otterbottom announced, Story time! Come gather around, children. Me, cried Pollywoggalina. That's a mouthful. Me, cried Pollywoggalina. Story time's for babies, said Froggy. Boys and girls, do you think story time is for babies? Story time's right now, so. Little by little, that book that Mrs. Otterbottom was reading got his attention. What a great story, thought Froggy, and he wanted to know what happened next. So he scooted closer and closer. Think he's gonna listen to the story? And then when they started doing rhymes and songs, he got so excited that he leapfrogged over Froggelina, leapfrogged over his mother, leapfrogged over Polly, and right smack beside Mrs. Otterbottom and started singing. Wiggle, wiggle, waggle, waggle, giggle, giggle, gaggle, gaggle. And all the kids laughed like crazy, and Froggy kept singing and kept dancing. Until it grew quiet. So quiet you could hear a fly burp. Ew. Froggy took one look at Mrs. Otterbottom and, uh-oh, he knew he was in trouble. Oops, cried Froggy, looking more red in the face than green. Mrs. Otterbottom stared hard at him. What do you think's gonna happen, boys and girls? Then smiled and joined in, and so did everyone else. Wiggle, wiggle, waggle, waggle, giggle, giggle, gaggle, gaggle, until story time was over. Look at everyone dancing and having a good time at story time. I look forward to the day that we can start doing that. Thanks for being so energetic, said Mrs. Otterbottom. And she handed him the book that they had been reading out loud and said, I'm glad to know that Froggy loves books. Coming in soon. Thanks, cried Froggy. Books are the best. And he put on top of his pile to check out. Then he rolled his wheelbarrow full of books with Polly on top, singing, wiggle, wiggle, gaggle, gaggle, waggle, waggle, gaggle, gaggle. That was fun, wasn't it? All the way home. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The end. I'm glad they had fun at the library. We're going to read one more book and do a super fun activity together. But before we get started, boys and girls, I want you guys to know that this is one of my favoriteest books ever. My favorite Storytime books. It's called The Library Lion by Knudsen. So I'm going to take another drink and we're going to get started. And actually, while I'm taking a drink, after we read this book, we're going to draw. So if you want to go get a pencil and paper right now, you can totally do that. And actually, while I wait on you to get your pencil and paper, I'm going to turn around my easel here. Ah! I hope that wasn't important. So that we can draw. Ta-da! All right. Are you back? You got your pencil and paper? Let's get started. Library Lion. All right. One day, a lion came to the library. He walked right past the circulation desk and up into the stacks. I got surprised. He's like, oh my gosh, a lion. Mr. McBee ran down the hall to the head librarian's office. Miss Merriweather, he called. No running, said Miss Merriweather without looking up. But there's a lion, said Mr. McBee, in the library. Is he breaking any rules? Said Miss Merriweather. She was very particular about rule breaking. Well, no, said Mr. McBee. Not really. Then leave him be, said Miss Merriweather. See Miss Merriweather at her desk. The lion wandered all around the library. He sniffed the card catalog. Boys and girls, before we had computers, we had these huge dresser-like things with teeny tiny little drawers. And in the teeny tiny little drawers were hundreds of cards with every single library book in the library. And that's how we found books that we needed. So, isn't that crazy? That's what he's sniffing right there. He rubbed his head against the new book collection, and he padded over to the story corner and went to sleep. Aw, he sleeps so peacefully. No one was sure what to do. There weren't any rules about lions in the library. I wonder what they're going to do. Soon, it was time for story hour. There weren't any rules about lions at story hour either. The story lady seemed a little nervous, but she read out the first book's title in a good, clear voice. The lion looked up. The story lady kept reading. The lion stayed for the next story, and the story after that, and he waited for another story, but the children began to walk away. Story hour's over, the little girl told him. It's time to go. The lion looked at the children. He looked at the story lady. He looked at the closed books. And then he roared very loudly. Ready, boys and girls? Help me roar. 1, 2, 3. Roar! Oh gosh. Miss Merriweather came striding out of her office. Who is making that noise? She demanded. It's a lion, said Mr. McBee. Mrs. Merriweather marched over to the lion. If you cannot be quiet, you will have to leave, she said in a stern voice. Those are the rules. The lion kept roaring. He sounded sad. The little girl tugged on Miss Merriweather's dress. If he promises to be quiet, can he come back for story hour tomorrow? She asked. The lion stopped roaring. He looked at Mrs. Merriweather. Mrs. Merriweather looked back, and then she said, yes, a nice, quiet lion would certainly be allowed to come back for story hour tomorrow. Hooray, said the children. Aw, look, he's apologizing. The next day, the lion came back. You're early, said Mrs. Merriweather. Story hour's not until 3 o'clock. The lion did not budge. Very well, said Miss Merriweather. You might as well make yourself useful. She sent him off to dust the encyclopedias until it was time for story hour. Boys and girls, encyclopedias are this ancient thing that me and your parents used before Google. And it had information about literally everything in them. It was pretty cool. The next day, the lion came early again. This time, Mrs. Merriweather asked him to lick all the envelopes for the overdue notices. He's helping out. He's volunteering at the library. We should convince Miss Alex that we need a lion. Let's do it. Soon the lion began doing things without being asked. He dusted the encyclopedias, he licked all the envelopes, he let the small children stand on his back to reach the books on the highest shelves. And then he curled up in the story corner to wait for story hour to begin. Aww. He's a good lion, isn't he? At first, the people in the library were nervous about the lion, but soon they got used to having him around. In fact, he seemed very well suited for the library. His big feet were quiet on the library floor. He made a comfy backrest for the children at story hour, and he never roared in the library anymore. What a helpful lion, people said. They patted his soft head as he walked by. How did we ever get along without him? Mr. McBee scowled when he heard that. They had always gotten along fine before. No lions were needed. Lions, he thought, could not understand rules. They did not belong in the library. Oh my goodness. What do you think? You think the library is going to be able to keep the lion? One day, after he dusted all the encyclopedias and licked all the envelopes and helped all the small children, the lion padded down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office to see what else there was to do. There was still some time left before story hour. "Hello, Lion," said Miss Merriweather. "I know something you can do. You can bring a book back into the stacks for me. Let me just get it down from this shelf." Miss Merriweather stepped up on the step stool. The book was just out of reach. Miss Merriweather stood on her toes. She stretched out her fingers. "Almost there," she said. Then Miss Merriweather stretched a little too far. What's going to happen? Let's turn the page upside down. "Ouch," said Mrs. Merriweather softly. She did not get up. "Mr. McBee," she called after a minute. "Mr. McBee." But Mr. McBee was at the circulation desk. He could not hear her calling. "Lion," said Mrs. Merriweather, "please go and get Mr. McBee." The lion ran down the hall. "No running," said Mrs. Merriweather. No running in the library, boys and girls. Oh, I'm sad that she hurt herself, though. The lion put his big front paws on the circulation desk and looked at Mr. McBee. "Go away, Lion," said Mr. McBee. "I'm busy." The lion whined. He pointed his nose down the hall toward Mrs. Merriweather's office, but Mr. McBee ignored him. Finally, Lion did the only thing he could think to do. He opened his mouth very wide, and he roared the loudest roar he had ever roared in his lifetime. Ready, boys and girls? Take a deep breath. Roar! Oh gosh. I don't think this is going to go well. Mr. McBee gasped. "You're not being quiet," he said to the lion. "You're breaking the rules." Mr. McBee walked down the hall as fast as he could. The lion did not follow him. He had broken the rules. He knew what that meant. He hung his head and walked to the doors. Mr. McBee did not notice. "Miss Merriweather," he called as he walked. "Miss Merriweather, the lion broke the rules. The lion broke the rules." I'm sad now. Mr. McBee's not giving the lion a chance. He burst into Miss Merriweather's office. She was not in her chair. "Miss Merriweather?" he asked. "Sometimes," said Miss Merriweather, from the floor behind her desk, "there is a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. Now please, go call the doctor. I think I've broken my arm." Mr. McBee ran to call the doctor. "No running," Miss Merriweather called after him. So she was broken. She was hurt. And the lion was just trying to help. The next day, things were back to normal. Almost. Miss Merriweather's left arm was in a cast. The doctor had told her not to work too hard. "I will have my lion help me," said Mrs. Merriweather. But the lion did not come to the library that morning. And at 3 o'clock, Miss Merriweather walked over to the story corner. The story lady was just beginning the story for the children, but the lion was not there. I'm sad. People in the library kept looking up from their books and computer screens, hoping they would see a familiar furry face. But the lion did not come back the next day. The lion did not come back the day after that either. Or the next day. Oh, does everyone look sad? Except for Mr. McBee. Look at him up here. Being smug. That was not kind of him. No more lion. One evening, Mr. McBee stopped by Mrs. Merriweather's office on his way out. "Can I do anything for you before I go, Miss Merriweather?" he asked her. "No, thank you," said Mrs. Merriweather. She was looking out the window. Her voice was very quiet, even for the library. Mr. McBee frowned as he walked away. He thought there probably was something he could do for Mrs. Merriweather, after all. What do you think he's going to do? Let's see. Mr. McBee left the library, but he did not go home. He walked around the neighborhood. He looked under cars, he looked behind bushes, he looked in backyards and trash cans and tree houses. What do you think he's looking for? Finally, he circled all the way back to the library, and the lion was sitting outside, looking in through the glass doors. "Hello, lion," said Mr. McBee. The lion did not turn around. "I thought you might like to know," said Mr. McBee, "that there's a new rule at the library. No roaring allowed unless there's a very, very good reason. Like if you're trying to help a friend who's been hurt, for example." The lion's ears twitched. He turned around, but Mr. McBee was already walking away. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? The next day, Mr. McBee walked down the hall to Mrs. Merriweather's office. "What is it, Mr. McBee?" asked Mrs. Merriweather in her new, sad, quiet voice. "I thought you might like to know," said Mr. McBee, "that there's a lion in the library." Mrs. Merriweather jumped up from her chair and she ran down the hall. Mr. McBee smiled. "No running," he called after her. Mrs. Merriweather did not listen. He came back. Sometimes there was a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. He's back. The library lion is back. The end. See the library doors and you can just see the lion's tail in the window. I love this story. Do you know that it's actually, I think it's 10 years old. Yes, it's an old book. I remember when it was read to me. All right, boys and girls, in celebration of the library lion, we're going to draw our own lion. You ready? Let me get my marker. Okay, scoot in a little bit. Scoot this up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a little squiggle up here on top. We're going to go down, up, down, up. Kind of looks like a W shape, but a bit more relaxed. Just like that. You got it? You got your W shape? Good job. The next thing we're going to do is close that in. Ta-da! Kind of looks like Groot's head from Guardians of the Galaxy. You know what I'm talking about? Good job, boys and girls. Next, we're going to draw an upside down triangle. Just like that. If you have to turn your paper over to do a regular triangle, you can definitely do that. Definitely do it better than what I just did, though. That was ugly. Good job. Next, we're going to add little U shapes around his nose to act like his little mouth. Good job. And then we're going to do some upside down J shapes to form his eyes on either side of our triangle. You see it? He's kind of starting to take form now. See his nose and his mouth? Good job, boys and girls. Next, we're going to draw a circle and a circle for his eyes. You can color them in if you like. I'm going to add little marks so it looks like he's got some shine in his eyes, some pupils. We're almost done. We're going to add little freckles around his mouth to act like his whiskers. You can even draw out some whiskers if you want. Ta-da! Now, what's he missing? He's missing a mane, right? That's what makes him a lion. What we're going to do is we're going to make little cloud shape all around his head. And we're done! It's a lion! Ta-da! Well, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining me for this very special Library Week story time. I hope to see you guys very soon at the library. Stay safe and bye!